Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Philly Fan Radio Podcast. I'm your host, John Myer, along with Dan Palmieri. And Dan, I have to say, the Eagles just kicked the crap out of the Steelers. I was not expecting a game like this. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I wasn't expecting a game like that either. It really came out impressive. They actually, first quarter woes are gone. They started out fast, they ended fast. It was a complete team win, and I was really thoroughly impressed with all sides of the ball. And we'll go into it, but yeah, there was really nothing that I can sit here today and say, wow, they didn't do that well.
Okay, Dan, I'm going to talk about I'm going to say the negative, but the challenging part earlier on, which was concerning to me, was ball security. The fumble, the turnovers, everything that was, I'm like, oh my God, please don't be that type of game. But defense, oh my God, we're going to talk about them in a second. But Vic, whatever you're doing there with defense, they were phenomenal. They bailed out a bunch of times, turnovers, and it was just like total domination.
Yeah, Vic Fangio really has this unit playing well. It's really impressive. I don't think any of us expected the defense to be this good. I was just hoping for a defense, honestly, that was maybe middle of the pack this year. You know, a bunch of young guys coming in, just a defense that could compete and not be a complete liability out there. But I mean, we're going to roll into the playoffs here with a defense that basically could win us the championship.
Yep. I agree. And offense. So let's talk a couple of these stats. The Eagles now are 12-2, franchise team record, 10-game winning streak. I never realized that we never won 10 games in a row. You
Yeah, it's
look
a
at
little
last
weird.
year, right? And you would have thought that would have happened last year, but no.
Yeah, a little weird that they haven't won 10 consecutively, but that just shows you how impressive this team really is. And um, there was a question I wanted to pose to you later that we'll get into, but yeah, this team really is impressive.
Why wait? Let's just do it now. Let's just jump all over the place.
Well, no, seriously. I heard a lot of talk on the radio about it and everything, but I want to ask you personally, what team does this remind you of? Because Does it this team I think is better equipped than the 2017 team when they won the Super Bowl. I can't believe I'm saying that. I think they're a better team than they were in 2022. The last time I can remember a team that at times looked this dominant was 2004.
I was literally
Seriously.
just about to say McNabb. That the
Yeah,
series with
seriously.
T.O. and Andy Reid and the number of touchdowns and they were on play call, everything what about it. I will tell you that I have never seen domination all around, complete football from a team since then. Even if you look at the Super Bowl run with Wentz and everything, there was still some. I mean, Wentz was throwing good, but there was still some iffy part. Defense was great at that point. But here I have to preface just by saying this game, like we just need consistency. I don't
Hmm.
want to see this. You and I have been up and down all season, like normal Eagles players and fans, and there needs to be consistency. This game felt really good.
Yeah, agreed. I think that it really is impressive to me that the team can come out and win in all these different ways. Because if we get into a situation where, last game we were all pissed that the passing game wasn't there, we still won the game because our rushing attack is elite.
Yep.
This game, finally, we got a game. It's not necessarily good, but we finally got a game where we just couldn't lean on the run the way we normally could. And what happened? We threw the ball all over the place. There's been games where, kind of like a microcosm of what you said on the first two possessions where they fumbled the ball, our defense has gone out there and win the game. So, I mean, we can really go out there and say that in any given Sunday, we can have a different side of the ball win us the game. And there will be a time that
Yep.
all sides of the ball are clicking. We're going to have a run game, we're going to have the passing game. And if that's the case, we're going to start blowing teams out in the playoffs. And it's really, the team is very impressive. The reason I asked is because in 2017, I felt good about the team, but I really didn't like our pass defense with Jalen Mills and Ronald Darby.
Well, you didn't
Um,
like Jalen Mills, so
I
we'll,
hated
yeah,
I hated
yeah.
Jalen Mills. He sucked. But he was the old double move, so we'll forget about that. But I really feel good about this defense, and I'm finally happy to say that we have a defense that I'm proud to watch. I love to see hitting. I love to see effort, and we got a really solid defense out there. Truly
Um,
impressive.
I agree with you. I'm not concerned on our defense. Let's talk about some of the stats. Now, these stats are very impressive to me because I did feel early on that Jalen was going to have over 400 yards, or the Eagles going to have 400 yards. Jalen didn't have 400, he had 290, but the Eagles
Mhm.
total yards was 401, rushing 131, and passing 270. A total flop from every previous week that we talked about it, where our run game was on, and we'll talk a little more on that. They held the Steelers to a total of 163 yards. They had 56 on rushing. That goes to say with our defense that we are dominating that front, and then only 107 in the passing, shutting them down. They're only getting small chunk plays, and even in the end, they didn't get much because we dominated on time of possession.
Mhm. Yeah, and think about that. The yardage, everything is good, but this is a Steelers team that every year they're competitive. Every year they're a very proud team. You do not see Mike Tomlin teams getting blown out. Sure, they'll lose, but it's not necessarily a blowout. And let's not forget that this team was 10-3 going into this game. So it's
Nope.
not like they were a 500 team. And I understand the score might have said 27-13. It was not that close. I'm telling you, that 10-minute drive, they could have punched in another touchdown.
Yep.
It was not that close. This game was a domination from start to finish.
Well, talking about that, we had a total time of possession. It was like 39 minutes and 52 seconds versus the Steelers 20 minutes, just a little over 20 minutes of time of possession. The last drive alone was 10 minutes, 10 and a half minutes. And it was funny. I saw a quote. One of the players was mic'd up and he's like, y'all didn't even give us a chance to rush in the second half. I didn't even get a chance. Come on, man. You had the ball. That to me is amazing because the defense, when it's clicking like that, they get a chance to rest, recover, and get back in there. And if you can have an offense, there was one of them we came in the second half and had it 8 minutes. 8 minutes,
Mm-hmm.
like 7 minutes, 52, whatever, something like that. They finally, the Steelers had a chance at the ball. That to me made me feel really good that we can sustain drives, and we were, taking a little bit here and there and running that clock down.
Yeah, it's insane. I don't think I've ever seen a 21 play, 10-minute drive, especially to close out a game. That's just unbelievable. And they had two whole possessions the last half. The Pittsburgh Steelers did two possessions. It was just absolute insanity. I
Yep.
mean, it's crazy. And like I said, this is a proud team. I mean, they made the Steelers look like they're just not in the same league as them, and it was really, really impressive. And I'm really happy. I have nothing to complain about. I mean, it's crazy. I want the consistency, like you said, and there have been games where they've been good. I go back to the Rams game, the Bengals game, where they showed that they are a complete team, and it really makes me hopeful for. I want the first round bye, but it might not go that way. So, but it does make me hopeful that when we get in the playoffs, that it's just there's not going to be anybody that's going to be able to come in and take the line of scrimmage and beat us up.
I agree. Now let's talk about the elephant in the room. Going into this game, there was the whole media blowout speculation. Jalen and AJ aren't on the same page passing. There was clarification. BG misspoke, said they weren't friends before, and blah, blah, going on to it. Watching this game is funny. We got down to the stadium. You look in the sky, and somebody rented a plane. Said, like, don't pay attention to fake news. We're with number 1 and 11, and they rented it out. It was actually on the news. My wife found it that a guy rented it and put it out there. Like, let's forget the media, forget the stuff in there. When we saw this game and we saw how they got AJ early on involved and how much he was productive, the touchdown he got, it was phenomenal. Like, everybody was at ease because, just like you were stating in our last recording, is that you were concerned that it would be a downfall. They would Achilles heel for this issue
Mm.
that wasn't an issue.
Yeah, I was. It was no secret. I was really pissed last episode because I fed into it. I thought that that was the way it was going to be because when a guy comes out and on a Sunday says passing, I assume that he's pointing the finger at the quarterback. And my main problem is that he didn't come out Monday and say, "Listen, you misunderstood me." And I still think he should have came out on Monday, but regardless, it's clear that that wasn't an issue, or maybe it was a little bit of an issue, but it proves that this team is strong enough to be able to sit there in a room, look at each other, and not crumble and say,
Yep.
"Listen, we we are not good enough here and we need to be better." Maybe handling it to the media wasn't the right way, but it's not a team that's going to sit there and blame each other like we saw last year, where we saw a dysfunctional locker room. Every time something would go wrong, people were pointing the finger, not taking responsibility. It seems like this team takes responsibility for their actions and they're just going out there together and kicking ass. And it's great.
Jalen's press conference said, "That's what y'all wanted to see." And then he's like, "We found the way to win." Like he answers, "That's exactly it." He's like, "Listen, we got it. Don't you worry. Don't you comment about throwing, rushing, whatever it is. Just realize that we're going to handle our business."
I like this version of Jalen, honestly. I like the little bit of pissy, sarcastic Jalen, showing
Yep.
a little bit of emotion. I mean, he doesn't really show emotion too much on the field, but I mean, when he comes out in the press conference and he opens it up with, "Is this what you wanted to see?" I mean,
Yep.
I'm good with that. Fire back.
Hell
I
yeah.
mean, this is media, and this is a fan base that will jump on you. I mean, I'm part of it. I will jump on him. I was pissed off at him. Because honestly, I think I was pissed off because I had visions of what happened last year.
Yep.
I had visions of it beginning and issues starting and manifesting, and it's clear that that's not going to happen this year.
This
And
was the time of the year that they crumbled last year. This is the time that they
mhm,
started losing all those games. And it didn't help, obviously our coordinators. We're fresh on those. We've got new ones. You and I were very critical of Vic in the defense in the first couple of games. But since the bye week, Vic has definitely handled business and adapted. He's changed up the plays. He's made some adjustments. And I'll tell you what, I don't even think I need to see many adjustments in it because we are just dominating that front.
yeah, the front four is much better. I mean, at all levels, to be honest with you, it's much better than what I thought it would
Yep.
be. I mean, there isn't a button that Vic Fangio hasn't pushed or hasn't lined up somebody that hasn't worked. And I was really happy for a specific thing that I saw on Sunday, and that is we have seen the last era of the Avante Maddox show because even when he's in dime, he was still a liability. And
Yep.
what I noticed out there is when they were in dime, they actually were bringing Isaiah Rodgers in the slot, and I'd rather see him out there than Avante Maddox because I feel like it's not a liability. So I feel like every button he's pushing is right. I mean, Quinion Mitchell, Zach Baun. Zach Baun is an all pro.
Yep.
If he doesn't make first team all pro linebacker, it's a joke. So you got him, you got all pros at every level of this. And it's just really, it's really good defense. And I read that they're the youngest defense in the league. So this
Yep.
isn't something that this is going to be a flash in the pan type of deal. This is going to be a team that's going to be able to compete and stay in the top 10-5 defenses for years to come.
They need to lock Zach Baun up now. Plain
Mm-hmm.
and simple. Just make it. And I thought I heard something that they're working on it or working towards it. I think Zach Baun has. I didn't even recognize him or even know his name when he was in the Saints. He's over here, and his name is being called out left and right. He is everywhere. It's like going to a new team, being revitalized. The Eagles' first downs had 26 of them, while the Steelers only had 10. And I think their first down, the Steelers, the first time they got it was in the second quarter. I think
Mm-hmm.
that's when it happened. We looked great from quarter to quarter to quarter. The ball security was definitely concerning in the early series, but defense bailed out those things. They came together as a team, and you never saw. I don't think I saw a mistake like afterwards. I mean, there might have been an incomplete pass or something, but I didn't see those stupid things that are happening.
Mm-hmm.
I saw Jalen threading the needle. We talked about this in the last one, is that he's not going to throw it unless you're completely open, but he was threading on the backside or the shoulder fade. Now there was one or two passes to AJ that he was trying to force in there, but AJ came back and, knocked it down and saved some things, or else it could be a different story.
Yeah, agreed. And he utilized the middle of the field. I mean, the first pass was a route right up the middle of the field by Calcaterra, and he threw a beautiful back shoulder pass. I mean,
Yep.
like the only place that could have gotten it. So he showed it. The only thing I will be critical of is he did hold the ball long in certain situations, but overall, I thought it was one of his better games in terms of getting the ball out. They did show a stat that his average release time in the first half was 2 points, I think 8-9, which is significantly better than what we've seen him at. So I was really impressed. They handled the blitz really well. I saw that he was like 9 of 12 for over 120 yards against the blitz. And you knew they were going to do that. They were going to load the box because they didn't want Saquon to run all over him. So it was everything works out perfectly. And I hope that they can carbon copy this game plan and apply it to other teams. I know there's going to be intricacies and whatnot, but I mean, I thought this was a perfect balance. They didn't go away from the run, even though it wasn't working. And I really want to give kudos to whatchamacallit, who's backup running back? I'm sorry. I'm
Gainwell.
losing. Yeah, Kenny Gainwell.
I
Sorry.
thought you were going to like Kellen Moore. I'm like, okay, maybe he's giving kudos to that, but
No.
actually, I'm a good one with Kellen Moore. We'll keep him around. But anyway, go
Yeah, I
ahead with
like him.
Gainwell.
No, Gainwell really impressive. He had his limited opportunities, but he showed like killer spin moves. Um, it was
Dude, he
it
took
was
some plays from
unbelievable.
Saquon there.
Hmm.
I was waiting for a back hurdle on that guy.
Yeah, he played great. I mean, he's had his moments throughout the season, so I think he's a good quality back, and he looked really good running the ball too. So we do have a back in there that can take some carries off Saquon. He ran the entire second quarter for him because Saquon was just dealing with a little bit of a nagging injury. So, um, really, really impressive by him and by everybody, really.
You said it was a nagging injury. Is that speculation on your end? Because they were keeping everything quiet and hush hush. He played the first quarter. He did a little kind of in the air flip. I think he got nailed in the thigh. Not
Hmm.
sure if that had anything to do with it. He did not play the second quarter, but then he still came back and he played the third and fourth quarter. What are your thoughts on this? Do you think this injury is concerning?
I wouldn't be concerned about it. If they were concerned about it, I think they would have sat him because the game was getting to a point when it was pretty much out of hand for a while. Um, and they were still feeding him the ball. I mean, the last drive of the game, they're up by 14 and they're still feeding him the ball. So I think if they were really concerned with that, that they wouldn't have been doing that. So I'm not concerned about that. Injuries wise, I am concerned about Landon Dickerson. I haven't heard anything yet because the Eagles really don't divulge much at all in terms of injury news. But Landon Dickerson is the one that concerns me for sure.
I saw, but I think we handled it because Dickerson was out somewhere in the second half, right? Or did he come out in the first?
Mm-hmm.
And I think we handled it pretty well. I think right now, if your time to rest him or keep him good or whatever it is, save him for it while our backups and others swap around. I'm okay with it. It is a concern. It's the only injury thing that I would talk about besides Saquon. Just he was out, but then he came back in. AJ, there was speculation of his ankle, but he was still in there running around, so he'll be good. Slay, who is always hurt, he got hurt early on, but came back. Came
Every
back.
damn game.
Yeah, but he recovered the fumble, so that was pretty good. What Najee Harris fumbled it, and they were on the a good drive. So the Steelers were driving down. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
oh no, here we go. And whatever it is, it was his first fumble. It popped out. I swear, like the turf monster got like it was rolling, and then there was
Mm-hmm.
Slay. He was on top of it. That was a perfect, and we took it down for 7.
Yeah, that was the key of the game was that 2 turnovers by the Eagles resulted in 3 Steelers points, and the only reason they got 3 was because when they turned the ball over the second time, it was in field goal range.
Yep.
And Pittsburgh turned the ball over once, and what did we do? We got a touchdown. And that's the key, taking the points when you get the opportunities, and that's really what the game came down to, is execution.
I'm not worried about the run game or Saquon. This game, to me, here's how I equate this game. You remember Boston Scott was the giant killer, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we had McCoy who would do it all this stuff. So we were good. To me, what this is that some running backs are just going to have better games against different teams. And this might have been the game that it was Gainwell, right? We saw so many awesome moves from him. The spin move down, he got us the first down when we were like third and something, and he took it down, and it was great. The opposite way, getting down into the end zone, it was just, for me, I think this was a Gainwell game, and I'm okay with that. I mean, I'm
Mm-hmm.
sure Saquon would want to, touch the ball more, but in all honesty, you feed the other guy, and they're not prepared for him. They're not prepared for his playing. They watched the number one, and now they can't handle the number two.
Yeah, and Gamewell hasn't. This isn't news. Gamewell has proved to be a good player in limited role. In the Super Bowl, Miles Sanders fumbled the ball, I think, on like the first possession, and they kind of benched him the rest of the game.
Yep.
They did not let him touch the ball, and Gamewell put up, I think, over 100 yards. I can't remember if that was receiving or rushing, but he went over 100 yards. So it's not like this is new to him. He really is impressive. He can be a good back for them.
Yeah, so Gainwell had rushing 7 for 20 yards, but in the passing, it was like 3 for 40 because
Mm-hmm.
that nice spin move that came out of the back end. So let's talk a little bit more about the offense. The only thing that I want to mention, and you were kind of alluding to, is that Jalen held the ball just a little too long. There were a couple of plays where I'm like, oh my God, please get rid of it.
Mm-hmm.
And he should have been sacked. I mean, they were all over him, but he just flipped out of there, came over, did a nice little flick. What did it go to Saquon at that
Saquon,
point?
yeah.
And that, like, we got the first down. That was like perfect. No, we didn't get the first down. We were a little short of it. I think we were about 2 yards short of the first down. But that is what I want to see. I want to see that. I mean, yeah, if a mistake happens, we're going to be pissed. But just seeing that you're taking those chances to do something and do better, for us as Eagle fans, is awesome.
Yeah, agreed. He was in commands. How concerned are you over the fact that he has a broken finger? Because this was news to me before I even saw that he was coming into the game with kind of like a little cast on it. So, how concerned are you about that?
It's on his non-throwing hand,
Mm-hmm.
and looking at it and thinking about it, if I would have known about it going into the game, I would have been concerned. But I only knew about it after the game, and I'm not concerned because look at how well he performed. How do you be concerned about something? He had an injury. Now he's doing great. I mean, keep the damn thing broken if you want, or injured, because you just put up some awesome numbers.
Yeah, I liked his press conference when they asked him about his broken finger. He says, "I don't think I did any more damage to it, but I don't care if it's shattered."
Yeah,
That's nice.
that's good. See, that's what we want to see about it. There were
Mm-hmm.
some good press conferences, some good information coming back from the game. As you can tell, I'm still recovering from my voice from the game and shouting and yelling at it. I think overall, it was an A all around, including the guy I want to talk about now is Jake Elliott. There was a lot of concerns, a lot of things going in there. He just, he hammered them all. I don't think
Mm-hmm.
I was one bit concerned on any of it. He even made the one that had the penalty, which got us our first down, and then we went right back around. So, Dan, what is your feelings or perspective on Jake Elliott after this game now?
I mean, none of them were a 50-yarder. So, but to
Yeah, the
say,
biggest one was 43, but then it was a
yeah,
penalty that put us closer.
yeah, but I wasn't too overall concerned. I think he's a good enough kicker that he can fight his way out of it.
Yep.
If he was a lesser kicker, like a journeyman, I'd say no, it's not going to happen. But he's a good kicker. He's been good for years for us, and I think it's just a case of he's just having bad luck, and it's not a good year for him. But
Yep.
to say that I'm absolutely concerned if he lines up for a 55 yarder, I'd be lying if I said that I'm not concerned, but I'm also not lying in saying that I I don't think it's a bad idea to line him up for a 55-yarder. I don't think he's a liability out there. Now, I want to see him sustain success, but I thought this was a good game for him to at least make him to give him some confidence because we know that kickers are all about like it's more of a mental game with them, and they got to maintain that positive outlook and everything. And it was good for him to get back on track for sure.
I know when he went for the 43, I was burying my head into my wife's shoulder. I was like, "Oh my god, please make this." And he made it, but then we ultimately got to our first down again. It was just nice to see him. I don't want to say back on track. You said not a 50-yarder, but now I don't think we're thinking about it. After we discuss it this time, we're not going to go think about it. It will be mentioned in a game if it's 50 plus yards and be like, oh, well, he hasn't made one all year or something. Yeah, those will be brought up, but I'm not concerned with offense, even with Dickerson's defense. Not at all. Vic, you're doing an excellent job. I think you have everybody in the right spot and places, and we were getting burnt with the slot last year over and over and over again. I think all around, even the special teams. I did note that Tanner McKee was out for the game. Britton Covey was out. He was inactive for this game. They didn't even realize it. They had Cooper DeJean, by the way. That's a guy whose name we haven't mentioned, but he's kicking ass this year too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, him playing the slot it's no coincidence that when the bye happened, they put Avonte Maddox on the bench and they brought in DeJean to play the slot. And ever since then, the defense has been solid. It's
Yep.
not a liability out there. He can play man. He's able to keep with him. I know he had a little bit of a hard game last game against Adam Thielen, but it's good for a young guy to get those hard games almost because I'll bet you with his attitude, I'll bet you he was in watching the tape and making sure that the things that happened against Adam Thielen don't happen again, or he's able to learn from them, and that's always what it is. I mean, we're kind of spoiled right now in terms of we have an All Pro corner who's a rookie, and we have a great slot corner who's a rookie, and they're neither of them are playing like rookies.
Nope.
There's really been no growing pains with either of them.
Dan, before we talk about the NFC a little bit, I want to talk to you just a little bit on the ending of this game. So we get into the second half. Eagles start with the ball. Eagles had the ball for like 7.5 minutes before the Steelers had a chance. Like we drove down, and when I say we, them, drove down. It was completely unbelievable. Then in the fourth quarter, we had the ball for 10 minutes, 39 seconds. It was ridiculous. We total domination on this ball, having a 10-minute series, 10-minute drive. I'm telling my wife, I was like, all right, they're doing great. We'll watch it. We'll head down right here and we'll watch it here as soon as this series is over. Well, we didn't go here. The series was still going on. I'm like, I could not believe what they were doing on this. And I saw one of the defensive players go, man, I didn't even get a chance to rush in the second half. You guys had the ball for like 10 minutes.
Yeah, it's really, really impressive. They were able to do everything. I mean, they were able to pass the ball with great success during that drive. They were running it for pretty good chunks. That was when Saquon, I thought, was getting a little bit going. He was getting like 7-8 yards a carry. So they were really starting to wear down a defense that really is a great defense. And it just goes to show you that it doesn't matter who's out there that they're playing, they can take over the line of scrimmage and they can just beat teams down. And that's no coincidence that they are, I don't know the stats, but they're probably one of the best fourth quarter teams in the league because they get to a point when they can just beat the hell out of you and you can't do anything about it. And it's great.
It's a good feeling all around for Eagles players. I know last week we were so upset for against the Panthers and how poorly it felt they performed, yet they won. They're 12-2 now with the Steelers. They have the Commanders on Sunday at 1:00.
Yeah.
I was going to say next Sunday by the time we're recording this and getting it out. Do you feel that this game's going to be flexed?
No, so they did announce that it is not going to be flexed.
Okay.
They are keeping things status quo.
That means I got to rush home from a soccer game to make sure that I make it in time. Like, hey guys, we're done. Let's go. I'm 10 minutes away from it, so it'll be YouTube on the way home. Dan, talk to us about the NFC before we close it out with our predictions for the Commanders on Sunday.
Yeah, the NFC, the Lions, they allowed 48 points. And I feel really, I do. And I'm not just joking, I'm not being sarcastic. I feel bad for their fans because that team is a good team, but they are just getting destroyed with the injury bug. Their starting running back, David Montgomery. I mean, the entire reason why they were so good. They are so good this year is because they have that two-headed monster back there with Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery. And Montgomery's out for the year now, torn MCL. And it's just a shame. It really is because as a fan, as an Eagles fan, I don't care how we win. I'll play a crippled team. I don't give a crap. But as a fan of the game itself, I'd like to play a team at their best to know that we are the best in the world. So it is a shame that this is happening. But, it's the way football is. The season can be derailed in drop of a hat, and they're just losing defensive guys like crazy.
Look at last year for us. It could be derailed in a drop of a hat. I mean,
Yeah,
to
no
be honest
kidding.
with you, the way it's going. Talk to us a little bit about now the game last night. It was the Vikings against the Bears. Obviously, we know who we were rooting for, but unfortunately, the Vikings won.
Yeah, the Bears are a joke. I can't believe I sat there for the first 5 minutes of that game actually thinking that the Bears might have a chance. It's a joke. But yeah, it's rough because now we have a three-way tie up top the NFC. And for somehow, I believe it comes down to so it actually comes down to strength of victory. Is it strength of victory or strength of schedule? We actually are in third of that. So if we have the same record as the Lions, we don't get the bye. If we have the same record as the Vikings, we don't get the bye. So, and they play each other the last week of the season. So we need another Lions or Vikings or both loss, and we'll be in the driver's seat, of course, if we win out. But it's a shame to think that we don't have any tiebreakers. So it's it's going to be a rough one where it's going to come down to the last week, no matter how you slice it. I'm sure that they're going to put. I don't know where it is right now, but I'm sure they're going to put the Lions and the Vikings on at prime time, probably Sunday night football game of the week, and so that'll pretty much decide it. But the Lions really are going to have a hard time trotting a team out there. I mean, I think they have Green Bay. I'm pretty sure they have the Vikings the last week. I'm not sure who that game. Oh,
So
the
the Vikings
49ers.
have the Vikings have Seahawks, Packers, and the Lions. The Lions
Mm-hmm.
remaining are the Bears, 49ers, and the
Oh, the
Vikings.
Bears.
So yeah, I mean, might be
What
a
I
good rest game.
what I could foresee, honestly, I think the most logical scenario is that um, Minnesota wins the next two, or I'm sorry, the Lions win the next two and then lose to Minnesota the last week. And Minnesota, I think that Minnesota really has a chance to lose against the Green Bay Packers. The Green Bay
Yeah,
Packers are playing really well. So,
they definitely had a good game on Sunday. Watching them go against it. Seahawks. I don't know how Geno's doing.
yeah,
I
exactly.
haven't with the injury, but we'll see how that plays out. Dan, before I wrap it up, what is your prediction for Sunday's game?
I think we're going to go out there and I think it'll be another run heavy game only because I don't think anybody's going to stop us. And I could see this game being I'm going to say a 31-17 game. I really think we're going to dominate. Maybe not get out to such a quick start because we haven't shown consistency in the first quarter, but I just don't think that Washington's a nice little team. I'm going to say that, but I don't think they have the horsepower to keep up with us. I don't think anybody does, to be honest with you. I don't think. I think the only team that could compete with them maybe are the Bills, and the Bills' defense is not that good. So, to be honest with you, I think. And here's a question I wanted to ask you: being the ever optimist that you are, Do you foresee this season as a lost season if they don't win the Super Bowl with how they're playing?
Oh,
It's a loaded question. I mean,
it's,
I could tell you how I feel. I feel
no,
that,
don't tell me
well,
how I feel.
okay.
I'm going to give you my prediction to buy me some time. My prediction for this Sunday is 35-21. And
That'd be impressive.
very close to you. I think it's just going to be even more if the run game, obviously, and the passing. I think the
Hmm.
teams now are going to see what we can do all around from passing and running that they can't cover us. And while they might think they get us in the run game, we're just going to be passing, and we
Hmm.
have the weapons for do that. So on minimum 35-21, if not Eagles higher. So that's my prediction.
That would be really impressive. The only reason I don't go higher on the Eagles is because I think they'll just run the ball and just bleed the clock. Maybe we'll see an
They might be
11-minute
run the
drive.
ball and break away and have 70 plus yardage each time.
Yeah,
So
maybe.
it could definitely, we could have less time of possession, but more yards. All right. Answering your question. Oh my God, this is definitely a loaded question. Let's think about this. If they don't win or go to the Super Bowl.
To be honest with you, I'd have to say win. Now, I don't
Okay.
think I'll necessarily see it as a complete loss, but I think they have the squad to win.
So if let's just say they go to the Super Bowl, and if they don't win, your question is it a complete loss?
Is it a failure of a season?
Is it
Is
a
it a
failure
wasted
of a
season?
season? As an Eagles fan, my first reaction would be, what the fuck just happened? We were great all
Mhm.
season. We should have won. I'll be bitching and moaning. I want to be on Broad Street. Yeah. I honestly don't know how I did, like, optimistic. I'm gonna say they're gonna win, but if they don't, they've got a lot of talent, but will it get the best of them? And will the media kind of point out the issues that supposedly happened in the past week, right? So will all that be brought up or shed the light or something
Mhm.
stupid or ridiculous? Um, I'll be happy of the team and how well they played throughout the season. Let's just say they win completely on out here, get the first
Mhm.
round bye, all the other stuff. Then I don't think I would feel as bad because I would see the domination. But if it was a struggle from here on out and we made it to the Super Bowl and lost, I think I would be more leaning on the 60, really disappointed into the season on how we should
Mhm.
be dominating. And it also depends. I know this is a long-winded answer, man, but I wasn't ready for this. Um, I think it also depends on the team we play too.
It does. It does. I think we'll have to see whether or not they can keep sustaining success.
What
But
was your answer? Did you answer it? I don't remember because I was trying to give
I
mine.
didn't. I
Oh,
didn't answer.
what is your answer?
um, if they win the next 3 games, I think that this could be because of the landscape with the AFC. The AFC, I don't care if they only have one loss. I don't think the Chiefs are that good. And now you got Mahomes, who might be out a few games. The NFC, I was really fearing the Lions, and the Lions are wounded. I don't think that they're going to be able to keep up.
Yep.
I honestly think that this is our year to win it. And if we don't win it, I don't think we're going to have a window that's this wide open again. So I will be disappointed. I expect this team to go and win the Super Bowl. To say I'll think it is a complete loss, I won't. But to say that I won't be crying in my bedroom for at least the next 2 weeks afterwards would also be a lie.
I would think we're gonna take it. I'm gonna give you the answer that the Eagles would, and one game at a time.
Oh God, I hate that answer. That's such a political answer.
Well, yeah, you try not to get the media hype. I think they're going to go and win it because I am an optimistic, and they're going to go and win it. And I think there's going to be a repeat. I think we're going to come back next year. We're going to just be 10 times better. We have fresh. We don't have to worry about cap. We don't have to worry about all this stuff that we have.
Mhm.
We have the players for it. So that is pretty much my answer, and I hope I'm right.
Are you hoping that you take your shirt off in Bourbon Street with the beads? Is that what you're saying to me?
Hey, to each his own.
Right in Mardi Gras. I'm right there with you.
All right, everybody. Time to wrap some stuff up. This has been a great discussion. Dan caught me off guard with the last question, and I think I was choking on the answer because I was just not prepared to answer it. This has been the Philly Fan Radio. I'm your host, John Myer, along with Dan Palmieri. Don't forget to hit that like, subscribe, and notify because guess what, Dan?
We're out of here.
Go Birds.
Go Birds.